o'clock.
Call to order, 9 o'clock, roll call, all are present. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion for the approval of the agenda?
Maria, delete.
Oh, yes, sorry. I would ask for approval of the agenda. After we amend it, we need to remove the emergency management director department head report. She was unable to make it. She's at a training today. So I'd approve the agenda with.
Minus number 9.
Yes, with the removal of that EM.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with that amendment.
I'll second.
Motion and support. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed, no. Agenda has been approved with the correction. Approval of the minutes, the BOC meeting from July 9. There was a correction to the claims amount, desk checks of $86,438.08 for the total of $317,285.35. I'd make the motion to accept the correction to the BOC meeting July 9 with the correction to the claims amounts as specified.
I'll second.
Motion and support. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Hardee's,
Yes.
Peltier,
Yes.
Hamlin, yes. Madison,
Yes.
DeBrent.
Yes.
Motion passes. Claims and accounts.
Claims and accounts for July 10th, 2026 through July 23rd, 2026. Claims in the amount of $131,732.09. EFTs, amount of $143,751.86. Desk checks, $435.97 for a grand total of $341,919.92.
I'll support. Motion and support. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Peltier,
Yes.
Hamlin, yes. Madison,
Yes.
DeBrent,
Yes.
Hardee's.
Yes. Claims and accounts have been accepted. Limited public comments. Public comment.
William Houston, Atlanta Senior Center. When evaluating any organization, it's important that you look at what is written, what is said, and see if there's a gap to what is actually done. The wider the gap, the less trust, and that's based on communication. Thank you.
Public comment. Hearing none. We are down to committee reports. Bob?
I was unable to attend the whole meeting because of issues.
Okay.
But you did do landfill?
Yes, I
You
did.
did, okay, you attended landfill, okay.
The tonnage report was 331,042.88, 100%. The holder customer activity was 239,770.47. And the injection well was 188,360. Other than that, it was a short meeting.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, when we've had all those rains, does that affect them at all or not?
It did the last time. This time, well, that was at the meeting the last time.
The lagoons
2
fill up
inches.
more and they
Right.
just have to pump more into the
Oh.
injection well.
Okay. Just curious. Go ahead.
I won't have a report on NEMSCA this month because they've chosen to eliminate a couple of the meetings throughout the entire year, and this is one of the months where they eliminated the meeting. So there will be no NEMSCA report for this month. However, on July 9th at 3 o'clock, right after our board meeting, we had a Northeast Michigan Community Mental Health Authority board meeting. Started at 3 o'clock. This is one of the boards, this is the only board that I attend that appoints an evaluator. And the evaluator is a board member, and they evaluate not only the board meeting, but all of the board members. And then at the end of the meeting, they give a report on how they feel the meeting went and the participation and things like that. We have noticed that it's kind of gotten into a rut, and it's like the same comments month after month after month. So we last month chose to eliminate the once a month, and next month we're going to either come up with once a quarter or once a year. We feel that would be sufficient, and we're also going to come up with a list of topics that we are going to evaluate the meeting on, and that list will be different for the 3, 4, or 1 meetings where we use the evaluator. So we spent quite a bit of time talking about that. Another thing that we did a lot of talking about were the changes to our strategic plan and the board policies. We reviewed our board policies from front to back, and we had touched on some of the changes that we wanted to see in that last month, and this month Rebecca had all the changes. All the changes were in red in our minutes, and we voted to accept those changes once we reviewed the entire policy. And that was about it. It was a bit of a quick meeting also. So that's all I have.
I attended FPS. There was no NEMCOG for July. There will be in August for Kirtland College. Their big meeting, and it's going to be about our budget. And then I attended DHD4. We had discussed, we had received 4 applicants for interviews, and they're doing interviews today for a full-time sanitarian position. Also looking into a part-time contractual sanitarian position, but we need to set up a meeting with the unions to discuss whether that is something that we can go ahead with. We completed our 2024 audit, and that should be posted on our website. I think they're saying at the end of the month here. And we got our 2024 Medicaid reimbursement done, and that's like 58,000, and that should be in by the end of the month, end of this week, I believe, or next week. And our 2025 budget audit will begin on September 28th. That's what
And I attended the ILA meeting. We discussed finalizing the timeline for the materials management plan, which is our recycling plan. That's a mandate from the state with Eagle oversight. For the plan submission, our public hearing date, so that we have that 30-day total review period, we pushed to October 8th. And the plan review, pending release from RSS, I still haven't seen anything yet for us to review it. But it's supposed to be coming here too by the end of the month, so everything by July 30th. The only thing I would add for DHD4 that I attended as well with Michelle is the cash flow statement was excellent, considering we have had a rough year at DHD4 with the issues we've had with Medicaid reimbursement not being completed by the previous financial staff. It looks like our cash balance at the end, which would be the end of September, which is the end of our fiscal year, will be around $1 million. So that's much better than we were a year ago. So I just want to give them credit. Our financial manager and our new health officer, they're both new people in those positions. So that was good to see. Controller's report.
I have reports in front of you. Only thing I need to add, effective, they're doing federal mileage rate was increased, and it was a retroactive to July 1st. They increased it to 76 cents per mile from 72.5. So they just increased that.
76.
76 cents.
Why did they do it half?
Because of the increasing gas prices. So federal mileage, they just put that bulletin out, and so it'll go, it came out like mid-July, and so it's retroactive to July 1st. So that's the new mileage rate, 76 cents per mile. Just give an update on that, since we did approve in our thing, we follow the federal mileage rate. So the first thing in front of you is the budget amendment 2026-02. You have that. Couple things on there: incorporate adjustments necessary to recognize the approved revenues and expenditures. There's retirement and fringe benefits allocations that we have that I needed to adjust for. We had a workers' compensation that came in lower than we expected, about almost $5,000 lower. So I was able to adjust those accounts down to help offset the increases on retirement. We had a person retire, and so the health expenses on that came down, so that helped offset the retirement increases. Some grant activity, we had to pay back the housing payments for CDBG. That cost was $61,264.65 that we had to pay to the state of Michigan. Those run from July 1st to June 30th. We expected to have to pay that, so that comes out of our general fund. If our payments for that time period are over $35,000, we have to give it back to the state. It's under $35,000 that time period, we get to keep it. So we have to give that full amount back to the state. So that check got cut. That check gets cut today and goes back to the state. So that's coming out of here. So the budget adjustment covers a lot of that. In this adjustment, you'll see the general fund. I'm asking for a motion to move money from the personal contingency fund to help cover some of the increase to the retirement funds. It's the already board approved adjustment from the county improvement fund for the access system and camera system that we talked about. You'll see an increase to revenue for the reimbursements for the RAP grants. Both of those were approved from MIRMA, so we're getting reimbursed for 50% of the access and camera systems, plus we're getting 50% for the body camera system. So we're getting $21,000 back from MIRMA for the body camera systems. So you see increased revenue on those. The sheriff's millage increase on cost on there, so you'll see a deficit on that, but the fund balance covers that. We'll have to review the 911 service fund here in the near future, because that fund balance is getting low. We're going to look at costs from there and have to make some changes to that. Maybe covering revenue or retirement expenses out of the general fund instead of covering it out of the 911 to help offset some of those expenses. That might help keep that fund more flush. The DTRF fund, those are normal foreclosure expenses. The treasurer had sent in adjustments for those. We made those changes. Same thing with the county foreclosure fund. Interest allocations. When we were going over things with the auditors, I noticed there's a few funds that have a bunch of interest allocations that go to them. So one of the motions I'm asking for is for $37,977.34 for accrued interest from 2021 to June 30th. That can be moved back to general fund. It should be in general fund instead of in those funds. So I'll have a board approve that. And I also, in doing all these adjustments, I also cleaned up some of the due to, due from funds that the auditors had noted that they just had been sitting from balances from previous years, so those have all been cleaned up as well. So I just need motions to approve this budget adjustment in my report there, transfer the 40,000 from the personal contingency fund, and then authorize that interest allocation as well.
I would make the motion to approve the fiscal year 2026 budget amendment 2026-02.
I'll second.
As presented by the controller. Motion and support. Do we have any discussion on that? On that 911 fund, do you think that's going to be, you know, if that's going to be a thing, because we've already more people putting their phones on. What's the perspective for that? I mean, just offsetting it with retirement, is that going to give it enough of a boost?
Years ago, we used to put money into it every year from the general fund, and we haven't done that for the last few years. We could just plan to put the retirement costs, the fixed amount that we pay for retirement every year, we could just pay out of general fund instead of taking out of 911 to offset, so it's not coming out of that, and then just pay the normal costs out of the 911 fund. Because the retirement costs, let's see. I can tell you exactly what that looks like. Paper hand. So in 911, you're looking at retirement costs every year of like $94,000.
Okay.
So if we're just doing what the current employees would be doing, which half of them are, well, 2 of them are contribution employees and the other 3 are defined benefit. If you're just doing their normal cost portion and then the rest of the amount we just take from general fund, you could be saving upwards of $50,000 to $60,000, and we take that out of general fund instead, and that would help that fund significantly.
Any discussion, any further discussion? No. Hearing none, roll call please.
Hamlin,
Yes. Madison,
Yes.
DeBrent,
Yes.
Hardee's,
Yes.
Pelletier.
Yes.
I would make the second motion that was requested to approve the 40,000 transfer from the personal contingency fund to the general fund to offset the increased fiscal year 2026 MERS retirement costs reflected within that budget amendment of 2026-02.
I'll second that.
Motion and support. Any discussion on that? That was a 5.5% increase, April had said.
That's for 2027. This is just to cover some
this
costs
is
for 2026.
Just for 2026. Okay. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Madison,
Yes.
DeBrent,
Yes.
Hardee's.
Yes.
Pelletier.
Yes.
Hamlin.
yes,
And I would make the motion number 3 to authorize the controller to complete those necessary journal entries, transferring that $37,977.34 accrued interfund interest 2021 through June 30 through 2026 to the general fund in accordance with the budget amendment 2026-02.
I'll support.
Motion and support. Any discussion about completing those journal entries? Hearing none, roll call please.
DeBrent,
Yes.
Hardee's,
Yes.
Pelletier,
Yes.
Hamlin.
Yes,
Madison,
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. The budget request forms were distributed to all the departments, so the submission due date is mid-August. So they'll be asked to review their current appropriations and then identify what they need and complete them to me. Then I'll get the personnel costs and insurance renewals estimates in and get some preliminary costs together so we can start looking at review processes and getting preliminary budgets together. I gave, in here is the MERS actuarial summary. Our 26 projected retirement contributions is $725,064. That's for 26. This for 27, our projected retirement contribution is $765,144. So that is going to be increased by $40,080. That's 5.5% increase. So that will be budgeted next year. Overall pension funded status is improved from 64% in 2024 to 65% in 2025. So all that'll be included in our fiscal 27 budget. I update on the sheriff patrol cars. So I haven't actually changed to that. I just got an email this morning from Bernie. Vehicle number 3 is complete. He is got an appointment with Common Angle this morning at 9:45 to get the camera system up. So that should be ready to go. And he's putting plate 6011 on that and it'll be ready to go. So that is actually complete and going to be in service. And then the other ones will be started moving on from that. He's been giving me weekly reports indicating what's been working on. And that just gives a rundown and everything in that. And the report there, the equalization and building department he had requested it would take away from working on those cars. So they are going external to get their oil changes done through the enterprise fleet system maintenance schedule. So that's being taken care of. Any questions on the fleet system?
What about the recalls?
Those are not completed.
Didn't we have that we were supposed to get those completed within a certain amount of time?
As far as I know, a recall, we can have it done at any time. It never goes away.
How long have we been waiting though? When did we get the first notice of recalls?
October.
We're going on close to a year.
What I understand is very low on the priority list because we're pulling trailers, the recall, and we never pull trailers.
It still needs to be addressed though.
Well, these are leased vehicles.
Yeah.
That have the recalls.
Yep, I just
Policy.
received another one too for the Explorer for equalization. The rear view camera could have an issue. If it has any kind of defect in it, they said they'll replace it at no cost. But if the issue shows up, they gave
I have a question. Is it where we can put in somewhere if we have a recall that we would like the recall done within a certain time period?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
If we get a recall, can we get it put in to where there's a certain time period that we need to get it done? The recall? I mean, because we're going into what, 9-10 months of this recall and it's not addressed.
That's up to you guys to do that. There's different things with the recalls. First off, you're gonna get a letter saying that the recalls happen. Then usually you'll have to call and make an appointment with the dealership to make sure that the parts are available to make the recall available to get it taken care of. So Bernie would have to check to make sure the dealer has the things available to get the recall taken care of. I don't know if that has been done at all.
Okay.
I do know when I had my appointment meeting with Enterprise, they asked me if the recalls had been completed, and because it hadn't been noted in any of the documentation, and they have not. But that's all I know about the recalls.
Okay.
I can follow up with him on that.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems when you're leasing that if that's a term of your lease, that you're gonna get those recalls completed, that should be done in a timely manner, whatever the timeliness is that,
Or at least document, you contacted and we know what's going on at least.
we'll see what,
Yeah,
whatever you.
I think.
For the Murma rep grant, I had said I turned in both of the financial receipts for the access system and the body cams, and both were accepted, so we should be receiving checks for both of those. And then for the MMP, the public hearing is set for October 8th. Waiting on the documentation from RRSS to put that out so we can get that posted. We'll be approving the draft plan on August 20th with our MMP group. And then we'll have it posted on the website. It'll be posted in the Tribune that they can come and review the plan here at the boardroom here, so they can review and make commentary on it. So our public hearing has to be posted a month in advance. And then we'll have the public hearing on October 8th, and then they still have the 2-month commentary period where they get to make comments on it before it moves to the next step. And then I'm waiting for them to send me the progress report, and then I'll be submitting the next quarter's reimbursement stuff to Eagle for, it's due July 31st.
And I see they mentioned that once we've had our review period, they're gonna do some sort of a link, because Alpena is kind of the, what are they called?
They're the DPA.
They're the DPA, that it has to be on their site, but that they'll do a link from ours to theirs. So if people want to go on and do that commenting, they can do it through there too. So there's multiple ways to do the commenting, correct? Yeah.
Yep. That is it for my report. The next part is just about the Headley, so we can talk about when we get down to that part.
Okay, discussion items, there was none listed, there's nothing unfinished. Now we are to that new business, the Headley override millage language proposal. Sure. This received considerable discussion at our MAC meeting when we were there.
Yes, it is.
There were several comments about it needs to be changed. Multiple people were talking about the same place we are, with the MMP and all of this, that we have to somehow fund these, and this is the way a lot of them are doing it. So,
You want me to read mine?
sure.
Okay. So just some background. Article 9, Section 31 of the Michigan Constitution, Headley Amendment, requires local governments to reduce rollback operating millage whenever increases in taxable value exceed the rate of inflation. Although Montmorency County voters previously authorized 5.75 mills for county operations, successive Headley rollbacks have reduced the county's operating millage to 4.8204 mills for 2026. This represents a reduction of 0.9296 mills, or approximately 16% of the voter-approved operating millage. While taxable values have increased over time, the county has not retained the full benefit of the growth due to constitutionally required rollbacks. At the same time, the cost of providing county services has continued to increase due to inflation, rising personnel costs, retirement obligations, insurance, technology, and expanding state and federal mandates. Financial context. Operational millage is the county's primary source of unrestricted revenue and supports the general operations of county government, including public safety, courts, elections, equalization, administration, facilities, veteran services, emergency management, and numerous other services required by law. As part of the county's long-range financial planning, the board continues to evaluate strategies that will maintain financial stability while preserving essential county services and maintaining appropriate fund balance levels. Although the county continually reviews operations for efficiencies and cost-saving opportunities, many operating expenditures are recurring and continue to increase each year regardless of local funding levels. These include employee wages and compensation adjustments necessary to recruit, retain, and fairly compensate qualified employees, collective bargaining obligations and negotiated labor agreements, employer retirement contributions established through annual actuarial evaluations, employee health insurance and benefit costs, workers' compensation and liability insurance premiums, technology, cybersecurity, software, and infrastructure investments, state and federally mandated programs and services that continue to expand without corresponding funding. While the county remains committed to fiscal responsibility and prudent stewardship of taxpayer resources, these recurring operating costs represent the normal and necessary expenses of operating county government. They cannot be deferred indefinitely without affecting the county's ability to recruit and retain qualified personnel, meet statutory obligations, or maintain current service levels. Based on the county's 2026 taxable value of $692,154,211, each 0.10 mil of operating millage generates approximately $69,215 annually before collection losses and statutory adjustments. Restoration of the full 0.9296 mils would generate approximately $643,000 annually based on current taxable value. These revenues would become part of the county's general fund and provide recurring operational funding rather than one-time revenue. The county attorney opinion. At the board's direction, the county attorney reviewed the available legal options regarding restoration of the county's operating millage and prepared the necessary resolutions for the board's consideration. Following review and discussion by the FPS committee, Resolution 2026-11 is presented for board consideration. If approved, Resolution 2026-11 will authorize placement of a Headley override proposal on the November 3rd, 2026 general election ballot. Board action at the 23rd, 2026 meeting is necessary to meet the statutory August 11, 2026 ballot certification deadline. Michigan law permits a Headley override to remain in effect for up to 20 years. When determining the duration of the proposal, the board may wish to consider selecting a term that expires during a regularly scheduled statewide election, allowing any future renewal to occur during an existing election cycle rather than requiring a standalone special election. You do 6 years, so it expires 2032, which would be the next election cycle of presidential election. You do 8 years, expires 2034 for a gubernatorial election, 10 years, 2036 for another presidential election. Since 2022, Montmorency County has strengthened its financial position through disciplined budgeting, conservative fiscal management, and long-term financial planning. During that time, the county has increased available fund balance, established and expanded contingency reserves, reduced outstanding liabilities, and strategically invested in capital improvements while maintaining essential public services. These accomplishments reflect the board's commitment to responsible stewardship of taxpayer resources and have placed the county in a stronger financial position than in prior years. However, long-term financial stability depends upon maintaining a structural balance between recurring revenues and recurring expenditures. While the county will continue pursuing operational efficiencies and prudent fiscal management, recurring expenditures, including employee compensation, collectively bargained wage adjustments, retirement contributions, health insurance, technology, cybersecurity, new state mandates such as the county's materials management recycling program, and other required governmental services continue to increase over time. The county's workforce is fundamental to delivering the services required by law and expected by the public. Maintaining competitive compensation and benefits is necessary to recruit and retain qualified employees, support succession planning, and ensure continuity of operations. In addition, the county must continue funding new statutory responsibilities, including implementation of the state's material management program, while preserving existing public services. The proposed Headley override is intended to preserve the financial progress achieved since 2022 by restoring a portion of the county's voter-authorized operating millage. As recurring operating costs continue to outpace unrestricted recurring revenue, the board will continue evaluating long-term funding strategies that preserve both the county's financial stability and its ability to maintain the level of public services expected by the residents of Montmorency County.
The question becomes term, if it were to pass, how long do you want it to go into effect? Does anybody have any great insight into whether it's more likely successful to keep it at this term with the gubernatorial, or should you go with the primary or the election cycle when we elect the president? Which, anybody have any?
I have a question. If we put in to do it now, for the 5 years, 2032, does that mean that we cannot put in after that for either the 2034 or the 2036?
No, you can do up to 20 years. And so if you do 6 years, then you'd have to do this again in 5 years to have it go on the next election if you wanted to do it again.
So it's more expedient to do it for the 20 years.
I wouldn't suggest 20 years. I would say you're probably safer probably going with the 10 years. You're giving an idea of how long it'll last, and you're not going to be turning around and doing this in 4 years. And you're just collecting that 0.9 that you're missing.
So at the end of the 10 years, we would have to do it again.
Yes.
Another renewal.
Yes. If you so chose to. There's another option you could do at that point. The other option is totally resetting your millage or your whole process, which we did look at, which is a very significant process to do. It takes a lot more time. And if you went with the 10-year, that gives you the time to do that. And you could go down that road, but it would take a lot longer than before this next election to do that.
You could just put it on the election ballot for this year. To have it, the millage restored.
Right, we just need to put how many years? Go for how many years?
I would like the 8-year term
Do it, good.
gubernatorial.
The nice thing about doing 8, I don't think you'd be competing with, what are you competing with? I guess what else would be expiring at that time?
I don't know. See, the McCoy did this year during this cycle.
But they're on primary. We're running
True.
on general.
We're running general. I kind of feel the same way.
I think that would be the
gubernatorial might
best.
be less. People might be more focused on it and looking at it more so than in the. Well, I'll make the motion to accept the resolution 2026-11, submitting to the electorate a tax levy of 0.9296 mils for 8 years to offset the required millage rollback of the previous voted Montmorency County tax allocation rate of 5.75 mils.
Support.
Good motion and support. Any further discussion? Roll call, please. Second.
Hannah. Do you want me to read the resolution? Whereas in 1976, the voters of Montmorency County approved a tax levy of up to 5.75 mils as the Montmorency County allocation, and whereas pursuant to various constitutional and statutory requirements, that taxing authority has been reduced to 2026 to 4.8204 mils, and whereas although the Board of Commissioners believes returning the authorization up to the 1976 level is needed to finance necessary county services, and whereas the Board of Commissioners for the County of Montmorency seeks to have the voters of the county determine whether or not they desire to raise funds to offset the various constitutional and statutory tax rate reductions by approving a special millage of 0.9296 mils for a period of 8 years, 2026 through 34 inclusive, which would then return the total authorized county general operation tax level to the 5.75 mils as approved by the voters in 1976. Now therefore be it resolved as follows, that the following proposal be submitted to the qualified voters of the County of Montmorency at the next general election to be held in the county on November 3rd, 2026. Proposal to offset millage rollbacks of county operating tax levy. Shall the voted allocated Montmorency County millage rate of 5.75 mils, $5.75 per 1,000 of taxable value, reduced to 4.8204 mils, $4.8204 per $1,000 of taxable value by the required millage rollbacks be increased by up to 0.9296 mils, 0.9296 per $1,000 taxable value, 1976 original allocated rate to recover that millage reduction and be levied by Montmorency County for 8 years, 2026 to 2034 inclusive, for general operating purposes. If approved and levied in full, this millage will raise an estimated additional $643,427 for general county operating purposes in the first calendar year of the levy based on the state taxable valuation. 2, Said proposition is hereby certified to the county clerk and shall be stated on the ballots to be prepared and distributed in the manner provided by law. 3, all public officials of the county of Montmorency, state of Michigan, and all governmental units thereof, within such time as shall be required by law, be and are directed to perform all acts which shall be necessary to be performed in order to submit the above stated proposition to the duly qualified voters of Montmorency County at the general election to be held in the county on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2026.
So that's the reading. Any further questions?
So the taxable value exceeded the rate of inflation. So we're getting paid more in taxes because of taxable value going up. And the Headley amendment is reducing it by basically 1 mil. So doesn't that kind of equal out? We're getting about approximately the same value, amount of money. Somewhere in the ballpark, the same amount from the taxable value going up.
What, I don't understand what you're,
Well, the reason for the mills being cut down to 4.8204 is because the taxable value increased was greater than the rate of inflation.
that happens every single year. So that's happened every single year.
We're getting more money in taxes by the value going up, right?
So our operating, if it would reduce every single year. So if you didn't do a Headley, at some point, you're gonna come to the point where if you don't do a reset, you're basically would be reducing your operating millage down to no. Because it reduces it every single year.
Because it's a reciprocal effect
Yeah,
on our
so
operating.
all of our costs and mandates and everything keep going up, and that's our main source of revenue. So even though the state, like even this Eagle mandate where we have to have, so then this is why we're deciding to go with this Headley thing, because if not, we were gonna look at putting out that PA public act for recycling and putting that levy on households for recycling, because we have to have a recycling center within the county. And it's mandated by the state. So if we went with this, this is kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone, where we can help offset some of our operating costs and take care of recycling, or we would seek a recycling millage. So it was a way to look at other funding sources without having to go. We keep getting mandates constantly, and they keep cutting our revenue sharing, and they're sunsetting different court cost things that they used to get. All of our state things that they require us to do, they don't fund it anymore. They increase the early election and they don't give you funding for that. Like all these extra things they make us do, but they don't give us funding.
I'd be curious how much more income the county receives from the increase in the taxable value here compared to how much more obligations our county has from the different things you just described. Anywhere near the same amount, or probably not?
I can,
Amber had given us earlier, or was that last year already? Amber had given us a dollar figure.
one of our meeting packets.
Yeah. Quite a while ago.
I don't think she emailed her, she printed that.
Well, part of the discussion at MAC over this, because the property tax thing, you know, that's not a given every year. We've had to go down too, so their point was pretty much the same, because right now it looks like for the MMP, a lot are assessing everybody between $10 and $25, right, for the recycling alone. Was it $10 was
Yeah.
the minimum that we heard that day?
Yeah, I believe it was 10.
So. Are you able to find it?
No, it was printed.
That's what I was gonna say too. I think she brought it in one of her reports. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, vote then on the motion. Roll call, please.
Hardee's,
Yes.
Peltier,
Yes,
Hamlin,
Yes.
Edison,
Yes,
DeBrent,
No,
The override millage language proposal has been accepted. It is 9:45 and without objection, we will adjourn.